So what in the world is a Quirk router? And why do the blades look like that? So this thing is a Quirk router. It looks like a spokeshave and a router got left a little too close together, and a few months later, pop. This is basically a router plane, but the cutter has this weird shape. One side is straight and one side is fluted. You hold it kind of like you would a spokeshave, but you use it to make grooves. The way this works is one side is kind of the spurs or the nickers for the blade and will cut either side of the groove. And then the blade comes through and removes the waste in between those two spurred cuts. So it works a lot like a crosscut saw where you have the blades that score either side and then this other blade that comes through and will rake out the material in between. So the nice thing is with these you can actually cut a groove that is cross-grained. So the way this works is I can lean it one way, and when I push it, I'm going to score the wood. I'm basically scoring either side of that groove. And then I can rotate it the other way, and I can remove the material in between. And so I can just go back and forth with a little bit of rocking, and soon I've got a groove here. So what happens if I want to make a stopped groove? With this, I can make the mark of how far I want it to go. And then I can look in through the mouth here, and I can put the blade right on that, and I can start from there and make a stopped groove. After a little bit of work, we're down to depth in this whole section here, but I've just got that last little bit here. That means I can just come in with my chisel and just have to carve out that last little bit to get into that stopped groove. And like that, we have a nice clean groove that comes to a dead stop. So why does it exactly have the quirky name? Well, it's a French term that refers to a groove. So these actually would cut a groove. And because it has this small shape, you can actually go around curved surfaces. And I can put this into rounded areas to get a nice groove, even in a curvature. Also, you'll notice this handle is straight, this one is bent up. And that way I can still use it here and my hands are protected on this face over here. And on top of that, because you have that spur nicker design, I can go cross grain on this. As long as I make sure I lean it forward, nick it first, then I can come in. And I can get a really nice, neat, clean, cross grain groove really quickly. These generally came with 3 cutters. You have a 1/16th, a 3/32, and an 1/8 inch cutter. And then the fences also came in several ways. There were large, broad, flat surfaces. Then there were these ones that had a little bit of a concave to them. And then these narrow ones that actually had a pretty decent concave. And this way I could actually go around curves this way as well as this way. So I could actually do compound curves and cut a groove into it. Mine is a Preston, which is the most common you're going to find around. And of my cutters, only one of them is an original Preston, my 1/8 inch here. My other 2 are remakes from other companies. For adjustments, it works a lot like a router plane. You can loosen the set screw here, and then I can adjust this knob to move the cutter in and out of depth. For the fence, it's loosening this screw, and then I can slide the fence back and forth. But this also has 3 separate locations, so I can move the fence way down over here if I want to, or I can move it right up against the cutting iron. And before anyone asks, no, unfortunately the Reed Plane's Howard adjusters don't fit. It's the wrong thread on the shaft, so oh well. So where exactly would these be used? This isn't a normal tool for general furniture making. You wouldn't find this in a cabinet shop. You would probably find this in a carriage maker shop. A carriage maker works with a lot of curving shapes and compound edges. And if you need to put a groove into that, this is the tool for the job. You're not going to be able to get a router plane or a grooving plane to get into weird curves. And so for a carriage maker, this is a phenomenal tool. The other place you'll commonly see this is in the French Federalist design, where there's a lot of stringing on the edges. Anywhere where you need a stopped, thin groove, this actually works really, really well. You can get up close to the edge and put a groove in just an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch into the wood, and you can stop it so you can put in stringing and create that intricate design that outlines all of the shapes. So the question is, how do you sharpen this crazy thing when the 2 edges come together? And basically, you don't sharpen the flat on the inside unless you can really get in there with something fine. Generally, you're just sharpening the outsides. For the flat chisel, I like to use the side of the plate, and I'll put it right on there. I'll lift it up and just work it back and forth, and then slowly rotate this down. I'll use my fingers as an edge on here so I don't roll up onto the knickers. And I'll just work it back and forth and sharpen that edge. For the nickers, generally those stick up a good bit higher than the cutting edge, so I can come in with a file or a slipstone and just run in the middle here. Generally, you want these spurs to be sticking out farther than the cutting edge so that they cut in front, but not so far that they stop it. You want to be able to lean it back and still be able to make the cut. So a lot of times people just sharpen this, and these get sticking out so far that they stop the cutter from actually engaging. A lot of the things you can do with this, you can also do with a scratch stock. I've got a video on making one of these as well. But this does have the added benefit that it is much faster and generally gives you a little bit cleaner cut, whereas the scratch stock is a little bit slower. However, the scratch stock you can make any shape you want, though I have seen some people making interesting beading or coving designs with these. Most of these are just a simple groove. So, should you run out and buy a Quirk Router? No, honestly, it's one thing that I've wanted for a while because it'd be a fun one to make a video, but do I have any particular use for it? Not so much, other than I want to share the enjoyment of what it is. And every now and then there's a job that's like, oh, that's exactly what I want. Let's use this. And so you might see it come out from time to time because it is a very fun tool to play with. And it is amazing how fast you can get a groove even in cross-grain situations. It's a lot of fun to work with. So there it is for today. I hope you like this. If you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, things that I missed, things that I got wrong, let me know that down in the comments down below. I do learn from that, and this is one of those where there isn't a whole lot of information on this, so I'm sure there's lots of things that I didn't say. Anytime you do put comments down below, thank you. That helps out the channel. There is a whole bunch of people who just do comment down below. Thank you. And it's kind of an interesting discussion going on of how to make comment down below the most interesting. So thank you for that. And just like hitting like, share, subscribe, it does help out the channel. But if you want to go even farther, all of these names over here, those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, and gorgeous people over on Patreon. Because of that, patrons or members, people who've clicked that little join button or the thank you button down below, you guys keep us going. You guys make this channel happen. And without patrons, members, and people with a thank you, we wouldn't be here. You guys allow me to go out and buy tools like this so I can do discussions and show what it is. So I hope you like that. And if you do, think about becoming a patron. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. I could talk about this being a very quirky router, or I could say that this is the router you use to go in the top of a bottle. But in all honesty, this is a router straight out of the 70s because it's very, very groovy.